Hey, Dr. Walker, can you hear me? I think he's frozen. Hey guys, welcome to NightCap.
I can hear you.
You can hear me. Good. Hey guys, welcome back to another night of NightCap. I am one of the co-hosts, Sharice Nicole, and Bishop will not be joining us today, but I am joined by my good friend who keeps the comments popping, Dr. and Pastor Akeem Walker. Welcome and thank you for joining me.
Always glad to be with Dr. Sharice Nicole, Bishop Guns, and the St. Paul Church.
Thank you. So tonight, guys, is a continuation of not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before when we had Dr. Tanya Tinsley on and we were talking about managing through the holidays. And so we want to continue talking about that from a different perspective. Of course, when Dr. Walker is always here, we tiptoe on relationships and managing as Christians that are single. So we're going to dive right into it. How are you managing through the holidays as a single, successful pastor?
Man, I think I survived Thanksgiving pretty good. For me, it was rough because one, I am a family person. I believe in family, and so it was different because my sister, my baby sister, who got married in October, um, moved to Dallas in March, I think it was, with her husband, my brother-in-law, and so this Thanksgiving was spent with part of the day with my family, my aunts, my parents, my uncle, and then the second half of the day was spent with some friends who are like family. So I was okay. Christmas, I'm really not a big fan of Christmas because of the commercialization of it and, not having that significant other to exchange gifts with and all that stuff. But it's cool. Like, I think I'm okay. But Christmas has not gotten here yet. But I think part of it is about expectation and being okay with family. My family and I are very close, and I don't mind, being with my family for the holidays, but it doesn't mean that I don't have a desire. How did you manage? Well, first of all, let me say this. I pray for you today. I know today is, I think it's the anniversary of your grandmother's transition, and so applaud you for pressing through, man, being the mother, serving others, and so, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Today was a little emotional this morning, but I managed. She's missed, not just by me, but my other relatives. So holidays have been a little rough, I would say, managing in terms of family. With COVID, we did not get together like we normally do. So I was a little disappointed. And then, with my grandmother not being here, the food is not as good as, what I'm used to, what I'm accustomed to having.
Right.
So that's one thing. Christmas, I love Christmas, but this year I'm not in the Christmas mood. I am just not there. So hopefully, Christmas is what? Next week?
A week from tomorrow.
Yeah. So hopefully something will happen, and miraculously, I'm just like, I'm ready for it. But right now, I think I'm pretty much ready for 2020 to be over.
Yeah.
And to roll into 2021.
So let me ask, because there's this misnomer that our generation doesn't value traditions, and even I'm using females, but I know men. We're not talking about gender roles, so forgive me for that. But I'm using ordinarily women handle the cooking in most families, right?
Right.
So can you cook as far as the traditional, like your I'm not saying you cook like your grandmother, but can you make those Thanksgiving and Christmas meals that we normally eat?
I think when we talk about, I'm going to answer that question. I think when we talk about our generation, that's something that we do typically don't hold on to the tradition. Like we did not get into the kitchen coming up. So a lot of those recipes died with my grandmother. Now I can burn.
Okay.
I can cook, but traditional items like dressing, I cannot.
Okay.
But for the most part, I can. I think that uh, that skill set was lost. I mean, there are a lot of millennials that are just that I won't say a lot, but majority of us can't boil water. If that's safe to say. So
Yes.
and tradition has really been lost. And I think because of that, that's the reason why a lot of millennials are not managing the holidays as well as they should this season. And I understand COVID, but I believe the traditional part of it too, because it's lacking, people are not really managing in a healthy way,
Gotcha.
emotionally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think emotional health is important. I think we have to manage our expectations, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. I think for me, even so, I saw my parents navigate through
Okay.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, both set of my grandparents, really all three. So I had my biological father's family, my mother's side, and then my stepfather's side, right?
Oh
So,
wow.
and I'm only using that. I never call my stepfather my stepfather. He's very much my father. But I'm for the sake of context, right?
Okay.
And so my parents would, for years, we would either go to my father's mother's house, my grandmother, and spend half of the day with them because they always ate early and on time. My mother's side, it's gonna be 3 o'clock, and somebody's still gonna be
Yeah.
waiting for the turkey to be done, right?
Yeah.
So, and so we knew we were going to be there all night. That was going to turn from dinner to games to all of that. And then there were some years where my mom would come just go to her sister's house, and my dad would go to his mom's house, and they would just say, "Tell so and so I said hello," and it would be no riffraff or nothing. So I think I was raised with the healthy that I'm always going to be with family. Even when I was dating during the holidays, I may have gone to the young lady's house I was dating at the time to meet her parents, that whole thing. But I am going to be with my family on the holidays. And I think part of that is because I value family.
Mhm.
My sister and I are extremely close. I remember the first year that my sister and I did not spend Thanksgiving together was the year that she got engaged and went to my brother-in-law's people house in Maryland, and I had an art with him the whole weekend. My sister faced it. I was like, man, you breaking tradition. But I understand. So I think part of getting through the holidays and emotional health is finding that circle of influence that you can be around so that you're not waddling in the fact that you're by yourself.
So there were many years that I did not manage the holidays well,
Okay.
especially so I was married for 10 years and went through
10.
a divorce. 10 years.
Okay.
Got married when I was 18. And I think a lot of people may be able to relate to this. Coming from a divorce, well, coming out of a marriage where there was companionship and a sense of family, to transitioning out of that, for many years, I did not manage the holidays well. Um, because at 18, I didn't know I had already started a tradition or what I thought was a tradition with the family that I was building, right?
Right.
And so having a daughter at 3 and being single, most of my holidays, up until recently, I want to say I really was depressed, like I struggled.
Right.
I want to say between October until the end of February, because right after the
Yeah,
Christmas,
it hits back to back, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Um, Literally depression. There was one year where I almost contemplated suicide, and I think that was where we were. That's something we were talking about 2 weeks ago. Managing those moments, shifting your mindset to be grateful for what you currently and presently have, and not focusing on what you don't have. And I can say back then that was my focus on what I did not have. Right. Um, this year I'm very grateful, but I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And And because you're a millennial, but you're also a pastor, that exhaustion is being birthed from, COVID, from social distancing, from trying to stay connected at the same time, trying to be safe at the same time, trying to make sure you're still spiritually sound, emotionally healthy, physically, in a great place. How do you balance all of that, and still try to stay sane, as a millennial, as anybody? Thinking about it. So I think his camera paused. But one of the things that I think most of us are struggling with is the ability to shift our mindset. Okay. So here's something that I learned while going through those moments where I was contemplating suicide, where I did not feel like I had anybody in my corner. I'm going to say this. The moment that I realized that leaving here, me giving my life away would not benefit the people that was tied to me, I began to take away the selfishness that I had to not want to be here, to be able to realize that aborting my mission, tapping out sooner than God intended for me to, would be a coward of me to do so. So I shift my mind. I begin to put into practice healthy practices. I want to say hobbies, but not really hobbies. Just really investing in reading more Bible study, becoming more active, in my ministry, and connecting with people that could help push me. Because the people in my life at that time, we were all in the same boat.
Wow. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. Let me piggyback off what you said. I think what we have to do, and I'm putting myself on the couch. I realize I need boundaries.
Mm.
I'm a touchy feely person. I'm a people's person. And so, for instance, we do communion. We've been outside having worship at our church. And so I still walk around and give out communion to each vehicle. I have gloves and a mask on, but I have this one trustee who is also a friend of mine at my church, and she always said, "Pastor, you cannot be reaching in those people's cars. Like if I see the mother of our church, I want to. It's the pastor in me, it's the person in me, but also you have to have boundaries in and of in your private life as well, right? Know
That's
when to turn
good.
off, know when to say, listen, a lack of planning on your part does not create an emergency in my life.
Say that again.
A lack of planning in your life does not create an emergency in my life, right?
Wow.
So you have to be okay with that friend who calls you and say, I need you, and because we want to be there for people. And I'm not talking about a real need, right? I'm talking about something that could have been avoided, whether it's money, whether it's time, because we always talking about budgeting our monies. We don't talk about budgeting our time. If I know that I need 8 hours of rest, then you got to go to sleep, right? Because what
Mhm.
happens is you can't be up all night and then the next day you drain and you don't have enough energy to do what God has called or gifted you to do while that person is okay. You also got to have a circle of friends that are okay um, with knowing you. And so I have a circle of friends that I love. They're much as family to me as any blood would be. And when we just know how to get together and just make each other laugh. I don't have to be Reverend Dr. So and so. I can just be a king. They don't have to be pastors. And I think you need that. And what I love about my family, my mom and them, like I was at my mom's house for Thanksgiving, my parents' house, my mom and dad's house. And when I left, they both said, "Oh, you going to so and so's house? You're going to be with your other family." They
Right.
know. I'm like, it is a part of my life, and I've created that because without boundaries, we'll go because we all have a need to be needed. We all have a need to be validated. And at the end of the day, you'll be drained and unfulfilled. Like Probably for the past 2 weeks, I've had so much going on and working on projects. And this morning, I woke up. I had to do a graveside, and standing in um, the mausoleum. This is probably one of the few times this has happened to me. I had to. So normally, the way I go into the cemetery, I avoid going one particular way. But
Right.
there was cars blocked, so I had to go the way, and I caught a glimpse of my grandmother's grave, right? And
Mm.
so I don't even know what I just saw it, and I tried to not look, and I looked, and it was just, yeah, it just reminded me that I just need to unplug, because for every funeral that a pastor does, it reminds us of something else, a family member that we have, because we oftentimes don't have the ability to grieve, or we don't take time to grieve and process it. So as much good as happened over the past couple of weeks, I've been going.
Going. Yeah.
Yeah, but so you need boundaries, and people will not like when you have boundaries, whether your
Wow.
friends or the person you're dating, because boundaries don't benefit other people, they benefit you.
You know, I will also say that along with boundaries goes expectations.
Now we talking. Now the conversation is getting good, right?
So something that I struggle with, and this is gonna talk about me. I struggle with expectations.
Talk, woman of God.
Now listen, I have very high expectations for myself. I am very critical of myself, something that I'm learning to manage, something that I'm learning to balance, because at some point the scale can tip and it can become unhealthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I struggle with those expectations that I don't share, that that I'm requiring from other people. And so something that we talked about 2 weeks ago, which is oftentimes a reason why people are struggling during the holidays, is because they have an expectation of family. They have an expectation of friends for people to cater to, or to meet their need emotionally, physically, to be present, and it's not happening. So let's talk about expectations and how we can manage those expectations a little bit better, because I think coming along with managing expectations is also being able to manage the emotion that comes from the expectation not being met. And oftentimes we don't manage both of them well. Our expectation is either extremely high or extremely low, and then when it's not met because it's extremely high, we don't manage the emotion that comes from it, from the disappointment well. And so most of us either end up shutting down, withdrawing, going into our little corners, which is also not healthy. So I struggle with the expectation part, but I'll give you guys a couple of tips of how I've learned to overcome some of the expectations that I have. I think that I am learning that expectations cannot be fulfilled if you're not willing to talk about them. So, prime example, recent situation with someone. There's expectations that I have that generally I don't say in my mind, right? We're so good at assuming, we're so good at saying that we think the other person should be able to discern or pick up the expectation that we have. So we don't say it, right? We say, you should know me well enough to know the expectation, to know what it is that I need. And people are not mind readers, but oftentimes we assume that they are because they're they're familiar with us. So I had a situation where I did that. This person, you should know me. You should be you should be familiar. You should know what it is that I want. I shouldn't have to say it. And when they were not able to fulfill that expectation, and which means that I placed an unrealistic expectation on them that I did not speak about, it led to a disappointment that did not lead to a great experience. So here it is. Oftentimes our experiences, if our experiences then are shaped by how we interpret our experiences, shaped by the disappointments that we've had, then that means our expectations may run neck and neck. Something that we have to consider. So you're here, if you guys are on with us, go ahead and like and share. But if you're struggling with managing your expectations, say so. I think that also one of the things that we have to do a very good job at is, like Dr. Walker said, boundaries. I am not one that have been good at establishing boundaries. I'm an independent person, but I'm codependent. And when I say independent but codependent, typically I will depend on me satisfying other people's needs makes me feel great. And if I feel like I can't satisfy that need, then I will then feel inadequate, right? Did you catch that, Dr. Walker?
I did. So let me ask the main question, if I may.
Yes.
And I think I know your reactions. I'm looking in your eyes, so if I'm going too far, tell me, give me the look, and I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you meet your own expectations?
About 70% of the time.
So then anybody, relative or relationship, is already at a deficit. Because if you are meeting 70%, it's no way I'm gonna meet even 80. Now I believe in the 80-20 rule. I believe that people cap out at best 80% what we need them to be. You might find somebody 85%, but there's nobody on the face of this planet that will be 100% of what we need them to be, right?
That's good.
But if you're saying you're at 70, which is not bad,
that's
what
good.
we have to be realistic about is that I come in already only at 70%. Because I can't meet your expectations beyond what you meet.
That's good.
I think we also put external expectations on people on stuff that can only be resolved internally, right? So what you may need or what I may need may not be tangible. Me buying you a Birkin bag is going to do what? If affirmation is your thing,
it's going to make me, pop, man of God.
No,
first on my wrist.
It'll be good, right? So you're going to walk into the house stunting, who bought me a Birkin
Good
bag.
morning.
But we're going to still be arguing because you still going to be, if I have not affirmed you.
Correct.
If I have not.
That's crazy you said that, because affirmation is my love language.
Wow. So,
yeah.
I think the other part is, and I have friends who God has blessed them to be very successful in whatever they do. And they always ask, Akeem, what do you need? Do you need anything? What do you want for Christmas? My best friend and I have exchanged gifts. She lives in Singapore, and I remember saying, even for my birthday this year, like, I don't need nothing. Like, anything that I want, I can kind of go get. But at 36, and okay, I'm gonna say settle, because we all can stand to make a little bit more money and all that, right? The reality is, you get to a stage in your life where you got all the stuff you want, at least at this level, right? And you want something that money can't buy. And sometimes for me, it could be just going lay on my parents' couch. The holidays for me are different because I am a family person. I am going to make time for family. Now, would I love a significant other to share those moments with? Yes, but you got to know that we're going to chill for a little while, but I'm going to mama's house. I'm going to my parents' house, and my family is so loving that you'll probably enjoy. Yeah.
I get that. I don't know what I want for Christmas. So my best friend is on, and I don't know what I want for Christmas. But I much like you, I am. When you get older, that is so true. I think oftentimes we don't know what we want for Christmas because, like you said, we want something that's not tangible. Like, okay, I wanted this and I got it. Okay, I wanted this and I got it. Okay, the newness wore off.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, I want something else. But something that's not tangible, we feel it'll stick, we'll appreciate it more, value it more. And I think that's where I am this year. You know, I've been asked often from a lot of people, you know, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas? I don't know. Surprise me, you know, but it's the things that are not tangible that means the most to me. You know,
Yeah.
um, you know, I don't know. So I don't know. But anyway, as a single pastor,
Yes.
single, let's say just male,
Yes.
millennial.
Yes.
Something my best friend asked me, and I couldn't. I answered her, but it was
Your
real.
best friend Chantel?
My best friend is Chantel Williams. Um, Perfect Christmas. What would it be?
Right, as a single person?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't.
In the pandemic, single.
What would the perfect Christmas be in this? How to make this a perfect Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I eat out a lot. I don't cook as much as I should. I go through spurts. I do cook a lot, but a lot is relative. But I think on those holidays, I need that family. That I need that feel of. So I remember one year my mom and my aunts wanted to do like a seafood Christmas or something. I was like, "What are we doing? Like, I don't want no
Ooh, people
I
do
don't want no
seafood.
crab legs, and I don't want no shrimp, and I don't want no
What?
seafood. We can have that stuff, but I need some staples. I need my collard greens. I need the fried turkey. I don't even like dressing or yams. I don't eat it, but I just need this. I need those. We can add stuff to it, but I need those staple things.
Right.
And I think that time with family should be unrushed. So as much as I spend it with my friends, at the latter part, I just like being with the people I love. And that is the perfect Christmas for me. I do not have to open a gift at all at this stage of my life.
My Lord.
I remember one year I went to my uncle's house, and his son had to be at the time about 5 years old. And I helped him put together his toys all night long. We were up, right? And so at midnight, they did this thing where the kid can open up, Nathaniel can open up one
Oh
toy.
yeah. It always at midnight.
I wasn't raised like that. I was raised, you opened up toys when you went to bed, right? And
What?
then when you woke up, like me and my sister don't have no midnight action. No, 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 no.
Man, we hadn't opened them toys 2 weeks before. We already knew what we had.
Oh no, we went to bed and they shut our doors and we didn't get nothing till my sister came knocking on the door saying, "Come on, it's time to get up."
Right.
And they got this toy. I forgot what the toy was, but I remember him opening it up. He played with it for about 10 minutes and he went to bed. He was tired of the gift already.
Already.
I posed this
My
question. I
Lord.
posed this question to you. How old is your daughter?
12.
So you wrap gifts for 12 years. This will be your 12th year, right?
Yes.
Stayed up all night wrapping gifts, making sure the creases are right.
Yes.
Okay.
Got to be right. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. Your daughter's name is Madison, right?
Correct.
Has she ever said to you, "Mommy, this wrapping is so nice"?
No.
Has she ever saved any wrappings that you stayed up all night to wrap?
No.
Because her main goal is to get to what's on the inside.
That's good, Pastor.
I think at 36, I'm not impressed with wrappings.
Mm.
I'm impressed with trying to figure out what's on the inside.
That's good.
I think the perfect gift for me is, all the stuff, whatever gifts, because when you give gifts, you got to expect to give the same level of gifts. You got to figure out if the obligatory, you got to wear it even though you don't like it, all of that. I think the gift of, man, knowing that relationships are solid and that love, particularly with COVID, right? There's nothing that somebody can buy you this year that's going to change all of the stuff we've gone through this year, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What about for you?
Man,
An engagement ring.
that would be nice. We bless the Lord. But
Please don't post on Christmas that you got engaged. That please don't. Please don't.
the Lord is working.
Let the Lord do it the day after Christmas.
The Lord the day after Christmas. Perfect Christmas for me would be able to have my brothers and my father all in the same room together.
Wow.
That would be the perfect Christmas. So my mom passed, and my brothers and I, we were very close. And then when my mom passed, it put a wedge between us. Some were able to manage the loss better than others. And we have not been the same since. So I have been praying for restoration in my family amongst my brothers. And so that will be, my best friend asked me this question last week, and I gave like this elaborate answer of Christmas lights and this and that. But now that I sit here and we talk about what's the inside, the perfect Christmas would be having my two brothers, my father, my brothers, their kids, all in the same space together.
Now, that's interesting that you say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
My sisters, so I have my sister who I'm the closest with. We were raised in the same house as best friends, but 6 years apart by my mom. We have the same mother, but then I have another set of siblings by my father's children. Mm-hmm. We have never been together, all of us, for Christmas, by the way, because of the way we were raised, right? And that would be for me. And with no beef or nothing, we just live in different parts now, and we are very much close. We committed to that, but that would be dope for me, right? To have all of my siblings. I have 2 beautiful nieces that love their uncles, and that would be dope. That would be I'm hoping that it'll happen for you, because the benefit you have is that you all live, in close proximity.
We live in close proximity, and I think it's a lot of people here. I think people that are watching who has family that is in close proximity, and I think this will be the year because it is a pandemic, and a lot of people are surviving, but a lot of people are not. So it would be a shame to allow family to leave this earth and you not attempt to make it right, or you not attempt to be in the same space with them, to set aside any differences that you have.
And so I'm gonna meet you halfway, right? I think there is a time to deal with family drama, right?
Right.
But I think sometimes presence in and of itself should be enjoyed. So I think everybody knows whatever the beef is, and I am a person that likes to deal with, like, hey, before we eat, before we say grace, let's deal with this. But I think, in a day like Christmas, Thanksgiving, I think we should just enjoy each other's presence. Like, let's not ruin the day, because it's gonna turn, right? It's gonna
listen, man. Last year for Christmas, it turned quick.
Yeah, so can we just everybody just show up and just eat?
Yeah,
like, just eat, crack a joke. Let's. Yeah, I don't think that's the time for the whole come to Jesus meeting. I think it's just the time because what you don't want to do is for something tragic to happen and it force people to be together. And now you got to grieve without ever getting through the issue. I just think we should just, get together and just enjoy each other's presence.
Yeah, and I'm praying for the people that are watching, for you that do want to have relationships restored in your family during the holidays. I think that's a major part of managing the holidays. We talk about family, and oftentimes you hear people will say things like, "I don't need anybody." That's That's a lie
That's
from the pit
unhealthy.
of hell. We're not made to be by ourselves. And a family is, although we didn't choose our family, you know, God chose our family for us. They're in our lives for a reason. And I think that we should value the ones we should value the ones that's there, and even the ones that's not, you know.
And you know, I, I'm probably going to get in trouble with saying this,
Here we go.
but hey, you know, I take issue with those of us who call ourselves Christians.
Mm.
Now, I know that there are gross indiscretions that happen in our families, and I'm not suggesting that we deal with people who do those things. But I think the same way we put effort into healing our spiritual families, our spiritual fathers, our pastors, our sisters and brothers in churches, why don't we do the same with our natural families? And I don't know that God is pleased with that. That I have brothers and sisters that are in the preaching world, right? That if I offend them or if I don't talk to them for a while, I'm tracking them down. They're tracking me down. We're trying to figure out what's wrong. How can we sever the relationship? And I don't know that I should be okay with doing that, because that is an immediate marketing, or it feeds the preacher side of me or whatever. But I have a natural brother that I haven't talked to, and I haven't tried to sever that relationship, right?
Wow.
I don't know that God is pleased with that. I think that anybody, or since we're talking about being single, anybody that I'm in a relationship with should help walk with me through. They should be asking, why haven't you talked to your sister? Why haven't you talked to your brother? How can I help? Can I sit with you in this? How can we navigate? Because I shouldn't want to isolate you from that, because I know, regardless of, like you said, we said we don't need one another. When you're whole in that area, it only helps us.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm leery of people. It would be the same if you and I were dating, right? And I said, you ain't talked to your daughter in a week. But every time I talk to you, didn't talk to Chantel or your goddaughter or your spiritual daughter or whatever. I would be like, what's going on? Now, again, I understand that there are real life issues that have happened, and so we sever ties. There is something where the Bible says you ought not deal with people who sow discord. That's scripture too. But I'm talking about, we need to put in the work of trying to mend and manage relationships.
Wow. I believe her name is Ariane. I think I'm sorry if I said it wrong. Ariana or Ariane.
Arian Johnson. Arian.
Does every situation requires healing?
Now,
my Lord.
This is where, now let me be very honest. This is where from a psychological standpoint, healing and the process of healing can be manipulative, right?
What do you mean by that?
Because if I've offended you and you come to me for healing, what you're really saying to me is that you want me to own what I did or said, right? And if I know that that's what you're looking for, most people don't own their healing. They try to project, well, Sharice, I did it, but I only did it because.
Yeah.
And we never get to the offense. We just pick nick for nick. But from a Christian biblical standpoint, we're Christian. We can't ever stop being Christian. Healing does not mean it means I forgive you, but it doesn't mean that the relationship is back where it once was. My uncle, Dr. James King, has this thing that I coined, and it blessed my life. Sometimes we can be friends and family with no fellowship.
Wow.
I've forgiven you. It ain't no beef, but we ain't got to hang out. We don't have to talk. And when your name comes up, I can still, man, Sharice would be good for that job. Or Chris would be good, yeah, but it's no beef. And that's how you can tell when somebody is healed. Even when if you would talk to somebody about their ex, you can tell they're healed, not because they'd be like, oh, well, so-and-so, they weren't good for me, but they're happily married now, whatever. But if it's always, a but or something like that, that's a clear sign that people are not healed. So I think healing is always required. It's our expectation of what happens after the healing that we oftentimes don't get right. Just because I've forgiven you and we've healed don't mean we're reconnected.
So healing does not mean reconnection or the presence of fellowship.
It can, but it doesn't have to be.
Got you.
I don't think that should be an expectation, because healing just means you and I have agreed. We have come to a place where we recognize that one of us or both of us were offended. We have owned the fact that we apologized, we worked through it, we identified the errors of our ways.
Right.
That's healing. Now, how we move forward from the healing is a total separate thought process.
I think we don't get that process right.
Right, because we expect,
Yeah.
okay, we apologize today, let's go out for happy hour. And if that's the key, that's cool, right? But that does not always have to be.
I have a question. What about when you deal with people where you're expressing how you feel and then they say, I'm sorry. And once they say they're sorry, the expectation is it's done. We know I done said I'm sorry. You need to quit talking about it. Is that fair to do?
I don't see, this is sticky because it depends on context, right? Because we know people enough to know, what are you looking for? Going back to I think goes back to expectation. Are you looking for me to apologize? Because if that's the case, I've done it, right? And see, what most people do, well, why are you apologizing? Well, doggone, you told me I did something wrong to you. I apologize. What is it left to talk about?
Right.
Right? Unless you feel like I'm saying I'm sorry to shut you up. Now, you don't have the right to question the authenticity of my apology. The only thing you can do from that point on is judge because I saw this quote that says, an apology without changed behavior is manipulation. I believe that.
An apology without
a change of behavior is manipulation.
Wow.
So once I apologize, what are we really talking about? If I say, Sharice, you did X, Y, and Z, and you said, Keem, I apologize, I didn't realize I did it, or even if you say, I intended to do it because I wanted to hurt your feelings or whatever, okay, you've apologized. I got to move on and hope and pray that we don't come this way again.
That's good. Yeah, we don't get after the apology, we don't get the management of the reaction correct.
So to your point, right? Here's the flip side. If I have offended you, I don't get the right to tell you how to heal.
Wow.
So I can't say to you, Sharice, you overreacted, because we're different. What I can say is, Sharice, I've apologized for that now. Like, I'm not gonna keep apologizing, right? Like, I'm not gonna, like, we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna flush it out, but like, you have to choose in that moment to either accept my apology or not, because it's unfair to keep people in prison. So I think the apology happens, and then we talk about how to move forward. And I think there's two different things.
Right.
Right? I think healing is, let's deal with the fact that we were offended. That's done. Now let's talk about, do we need to fellowship? Do we not? Do we just need to be okay with knowing that we're having a Paul and Barnabas moment? We're going to disagree and disconnect, and I'm still going to wish you well. And I think that's up to the individuals.
That's good. So Miss Johnson is I think it's Ariane. So an apology doesn't necessarily mean healed.
No,
it doesn't.
No, it just means I apologize. Now, because healing is internal.
But I have a question. Just because they apologize, when the person apologizes, doesn't also mean that they're owning what they did. I do believe that sometimes people will say, I'm sorry, sound sincere, but they may not necessarily own to the offense. They may not necessarily own the offense. And I
because
say that because I've done it.
offense is not given, it's taken. So if you say to
That's
me,
good.
Akeem, you did X, Y, and Z, and I'm saying I didn't, I can't tell you how you felt. Here's where it gets, because feelings and emotions are internal, right?
Right.
So I'm apologizing for how I made you feel. I'm apologizing because you have said to me, Akeem, you made me feel this type of way. And so I'm apologizing. I don't have to agree that I did it. I am agreeing that you acknowledged it, that I acknowledged that I did something because you said it to me, but it doesn't mean that I
agree to the
offense.
offense that
Right,
person I took.
right.
Got you. That's good. And I think that's where again we manage so poorly after. Oftentimes, I guess my question is for the relationships where the fellowship dissipates. We're friends, we're family, but we don't really chill like that. Is that really forgiveness? Like, or is it that you discovered that there's a character, something about their character that don't fit well with you? You still love them, you just don't.
Yeah, so I think we have to know those that labor amongst us, right?
Mm,
And
that's
we
good.
all, myself included, have character flaws.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's the thing. We all don't add up to everybody's list. We don't meet everybody's list, right? And so for me, I have friends, and I'll say friends that I love, but I know if they are, let's say, if I'm amongst other friends and this person comes around, if there is no beef at all, I do know that there's certain conversations I am not going to have around that person.
Mm.
But we can hang and laugh and joke and enjoy life together like it's no problem. I do know that at a certain point, if a conversation goes a certain way because of what has happened between me and that individual, I'm not going to talk around that friend about stuff that I don't want to get out.
Gotcha.
So you could be spilling your guts, and I'm not going to say to you, "Hey, be careful, because so and so is here." I'm just not going to engage beyond my level of comfortability
Okay.
if that person is in the room. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean there's no beef. It's just that's where that relationship is with that person.
Wow. And so oftentimes we manage, going back to manage, because I'm
Yes.
learning how to manage. Something that Dr. Beasley said, or the question is it not possible to forgive and also realize that the person is no longer serving a function in our lives? I think it is, I think it is possible to forgive, and it is possible to realize that they no longer serve a function in your life. I say that because people's place in your life shifts depending
Yes.
on the season that you're in, and depending on your relationship, the season
Right.
that you're in, the season that you're in. And so yes, something may happen and you do forgive them, but that person now shifts up, shifts to another position in your life or another place in your life, and it's okay. I've done it. And it's been done to me. I think that we have to realize that oftentimes we misplace people too soon. We'll put them in a category too soon. And sometimes we give too much information too soon to the wrong people because we lack the wisdom or the ability to discern which place they should be in meeting them.
Or vice versa.
Mm, okay.
Sometimes we discard people too soon.
Guilty.
I think we do not always extend the grace to people that we want to receive. I've been guilty of it, right?
I'm very guilty of that.
Our fuses are short because this looks like this smells like this. Now, I'm not saying that people should be drug along and wasted time, but I think we do not give people the grace. It is like this. If I have never gone to Ruth Chris before, if my only level of exposure to steak is Outback, I may not know how to act in the Ruth Chris because I've never been exposed to it. And so if I'm with some people, it can be one or two things. It can either be, Dad, King, we ain't never bringing you back no more. Or it can be like, hey, friend, because we love you and because I know you've never been here, let me just school you, right? Let me give you space to grow. Because my expectations are now different because my palate has been enlarged.
That's good.
I think that people can be reassigned. I don't think everybody is replaceable. And we live in a cancel culture.
We will cancel you in a minute.
And I don't know that that's healthy. Because somebody posted is a
But
meme.
Can you say that again? Everybody could be reassigned, but
but everybody's not replaceable, right? So which means I may move you out of this place, but I don't have to remove you from my life.
That's good.
Because I don't know when I'm gonna need you again.
That's good.
And just because you don't serve that purpose, don't mean you don't serve a purpose.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta be cautious because we do all this when people die about so and so. I believe that half of the people that have committed suicide or overdose or whatever, I look at when Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston and those people died. What would have happened if we appreciated them, if they knew that they were that loved when they were living?
My Lord.
Why does it take a tragedy for us to share? I was with some friends the other day and they said, I heard them, they didn't say it to me, but I heard them say, oh, Akeem, you always taking pictures, you walk. Now, but watch this, these are the same people that when somebody die, they're going to ask me, Akeem, do you got a picture of so-and-so?
Right.
So on one hand, we have this pseudo love, right? And this pseudo respect. But on the other hand, we fake the funk. I don't know of anybody that I have just excommunicated out of my life. Now, we may not talk, but why do I need to put you out of my life? Why? If we friends, again, you may not have a direct purpose in my life, but who knows what that could lead to or what it's going to connect to in the future.
Well, I'm always the honest, open co-host.
Yes.
And I'm very transparent. Honey, I have canceled, removed, kicked out, never to be heard from again.
I'm drinking my water.
I'm not saying it's right, but I have. But that was the immature side of me.
I'm still drinking my water.
Not understanding that I could have reassigned them, but not excommunicated them. And so I am still learning that though you don't serve a purpose or serve that purpose or the purpose that I expected you to serve, doesn't mean that you don't serve a purpose or the purpose that God intended for you to serve, which are two separate things. My expected purpose of you and God's intended purpose of you in my life tends to collide. And I think that happens often with us. We put people in a place, like, again, where they should not be. And oftentimes we don't seek God on the purpose, on people's purpose in our life. We just automatically put them in a place that we need them based on the voids or needs that we have in our lives.
Yeah, I was talking to a good friend of mine just yesterday. We dated probably about 12 years ago. No, probably 15.
Wow.
I'm 36, so you can tell we were young, like crazy young. And I think at the end of the conversation, and she's married now, so we're just strictly platonic friends, right? But at the end of the conversation, it was like bad timing. I don't know that.
But I'm gonna say this: she married, so she ain't had no business calling you anyway. But I digress.
I think that's absolutely shallow to say that people can't remain friends because I'm married. I mean, that's personal opinion, right? There was
we'll have to talk about that.
But there was nothing inappropriate about the conversation. I'm just saying, I think we oftentimes timing matters, right?
Timing matters.
And fast forward, I don't know that if we met today that we would choose each other. You didn't let me finish the conversation, man. Right? So I think part of it is you would go back because you're always supposed to have growth markers, right?
Right.
But I think also when you meet someone, timing is so key to it, right? I just think that timing matters because expectations should change as you mature, not age, but mature.
That's good.
What I tolerated and what I wanted at 21 should not be the same at 36.
That's good. I think we tolerate more when we get older. Oh, it's the opposite for you. It's because you're ready to cancel. You can't.
No. My grace meter is long because I understand that I need grace. I think we cancel people because of petty stuff.
I agree. Not all petty, but
90%.
80%.
That's still a lie. I'll take it.
Listen, guys. We've talked about a lot from being single in the pandemic, boundaries, expectations, to now whether a person should be canceled, reassignment of people in your life in a matter of 60 minutes. Okay. Wow. And it has been amazing. Again, it's from 9:30 to 10:30. If you like this, please share this because somebody else can come back and watch it at a later time. But I want to thank you for coming on. It is always a pleasure to have you on.
The pleasure is mine, man. Every third Wednesday.
I get
to hang out with the incomparable. And until I find a word that describes you beyond that, I'm going to use it. The incomparable Dr. Sharice Nicole.
Thank you.
A saved pharmacist that loves God, who's a great mother. I'm enjoying. I can't wait till they finish putting the finished touches on this project that you're working on.
Listen. I'm
coming down for the ribbon cut.
Cut the ribbon. It's open. Miss Johnson, we have enjoyed your questions. And
Chantel, if you watch it, make sure I get invited.
Lord, Miss Johnson, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and everyone that asked a question. Listen, we do this every Wednesday at 9:30. Okay, 9:30 to 10:30. We're about to be out of here. And Pastor Walker, do you have any closing remarks before
Shout out to the greatest bishop in Jacksonville. Bishop John Eric Guns.
Bishop John Eric
and
Guns.
To the Lady Guns. Yeah. I love the Guns family. I love hanging out with St. Paul.
Yeah.
Are y'all doing it next week that's Christmas Eve next Wednesday?
I don't believe that we are because we took the day before Thanksgiving off. So I think we're going to probably take Christmas Eve off as well.
So we've been talking about managing expectations. 10 seconds.
Okay.
Do not go in debt to anybody that's watching. If you have to prove your love with someone by you overextending yourself for one day, you don't need them.
My Lord.
I'm done. That's all I got.
And that's
Dr. Sharice, what you got?
I agree with him. Don't go into debt. Save your money. It's a pandemic. You shouldn't be buying a bunch of gifts anyway. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been NightCap. Bye, guys.
Good night.